Welcome to the deep dive. If you need that crucial analysis, without getting buried in data yourself, well, you're in the right place. Today, we're looking at something that honestly seems like a paradox, a market that looks perfect on paper, technically, demographically, but you can't touch it. We're diving into the kingdom of Bahrain. And our analysis for this deep dive, it's all built on a really detailed country report, the iGaming market analysis for Bahrain. This comes from the Gambling Database's research team. Now, these folks, they're dedicated to delivering these super in-depth analyses covering the whole global iGaming scene. In the reports like this one for Bahrain, they dig into everything: local laws, tax stuff, the player experience, what it's like for operators, new trends, all that. The whole point, really, and what we want to do today, is give you a clear, data-driven picture of how the industry actually works, or, well, doesn't work in this pretty unique market.
It is unique, and that data tells a really stark story. Bahrain looks great in some ways, some of the best tech specs, highest wealth per person in the Gulf. But the final conclusion in the report, it's pretty chilling. The country gets an overall market attractiveness score of just 0.6 out of 10, and the final message for operators is impossible to miss. Completely prohibited, do not enter, loud and clear. So our mission today isn't just about that score. It's about understanding why. Why this absolute ban isn't just policy on paper, but a very real active criminal threat.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. And we really have to start right at the foundation.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned history. That seems key to understanding just how severe this ban is.
Exactly. You got it. The root cause isn't just, some recent government decision. It's deeply embedded in Islamic Sharia law. Bahrain enforces an absolute ban on all gambling, land-based, online, everything. And what's really striking is the consistency. We're talking about a religious principle that's been codified and enforced for, well, over 1,400 years. Yeah. So this isn't some temporary political thing. It's baked into the country's legal identity. Specifically, you'll find it in the Bahrain Penal Code, Article 308.
Right. That kind of historical weight just completely changes the game, doesn't it? It takes it from, say, a potential fine to a serious international criminal risk for any operator even thinking about it.
Oh, absolutely. The report lays out the penalties very clearly. If you try to operate any kind of gambling business, you're looking at a BD 1000 fine that's about $2,650 US. But, and this is the kicker, also 1 year in prison.
1 year.
1 year. That mix of a hefty fine and jail time, it's an immediate deal breaker for any legitimate business.
And it sounds like that's not even the end of it.
Not at all. Beyond prison, the report points out that anyone convicted also faces permanent closure of their business in Bahrain and complete seizure of any assets they have in the country.
Oof. So a triple threat, basically. Fine, jail, lose everything.
Pretty much.
That definitely explains why the operator E's score in the analysis is, well, almost zero. It's 0.25 out of 10. Is that score purely down to the imprisonment threat? Or is it that whole package, the closure, the asset seizure, that pushes it so incredibly low?
It's really the whole package, but also the fact that this isn't just a law sitting passively on the books. Enforcement is active and ongoing. That definitely contributes to that near zero score. You've got the telecom regulators, the Information Affairs Authority have had this program running since 2009, and they keep expanding it, to actively block gambling websites right at the ISP level.
So they're actively trying to shut down access.
Constantly. And, just to be crystal clear, there's no licensing system, none, because there's zero intention of ever regulating gambling. No gambling licenses have ever been issued in Bahrain's history. And the report stresses, if you were to even ask about getting a license, that wouldn't start a conversation. It would likely be seen as you showing intent to break the law and could trigger an immediate investigation.
Wow. Okay, so the wall for operators just absolutely. What about for individuals, though? If you're listening and maybe you live there, know someone who does, what's the risk for just being a player?
Well, players face significant risk, too, especially if they're caught doing what the law considers public gambling. The penalty there is a BD 300 fine, about $795, and potentially up to 3 months in prison.
3 months for playing.
Up to 3 months, yeah. And maybe even more seriously, that conviction could mean a permanent criminal record, which, can mess up future job prospects, getting visas to travel, all sorts of things. That's why the player access score in the report is only just 1.0 out of 10. It's slightly better than for operators, but still incredibly risky. The legal reality is just absolute.
Okay. So this brings us to that really weird part, the paradox we mentioned at the start. Because if you could somehow ignore that giant legal wall, the actual market conditions look amazing. This is where it gets genuinely fascinating because Bahrain has all these indicators, tech, demographics, that anywhere else on Earth would scream huge iGaming opportunity.
Yeah. It really is the ultimate honeypot illusion, as you said. The report lists these strengths, and honestly, they are world class. Let's just look at the wealth side first. Okay, the population isn't huge, 1.64 million people, but they are very affluent. GDP per capita is over $30,600. Average household income, around $50,000 a year.
That's significant.
Very. It means really strong purchasing power, lots of disposable income, exactly what you'd want for, a healthy leisure market.
And the tech infrastructure, you mentioned that earlier.
Oh, it's incredible. Internet penetration is basically universal 99.0%.
99%, almost everyone's online.
Pretty much. And the speed. Mobile internet speed, the median is 118.36 millipieces. The report notes this makes them the fifth fastest globally.
Fifth fastest in the world.
In the world. So yeah, the infrastructure is absolutely there. It could easily handle high-def live dealer games, instant sports bets, anything. But it's completely locked down for this specific purpose. It's almost a digital tragedy.
Yeah, it really is.
And what makes it even stranger is how business-friendly Bahrain is otherwise. They've really pushed hard to become this financial and commercial hub. For most businesses, corporate income tax is zero. 0%. And the country ranks really well globally, 43rd in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index. They allow 100% foreign ownership in most areas. And for players, hypothetically, zero personal income tax. Any winnings, theoretically, would be tax-free.
Okay, hold on. So you've got the money, you've got literally world-leading tech, zero tax issues, and a government actively welcoming other foreign businesses. So what's the catch? Why is gambling the one absolute exception? What's from the analysis?
The so what is brutal, frankly. As the report just puts it flatly, all those amazing strengths are completely meaningless for iGaming operators. That high wealth, fantastic digital setup, it creates this incredibly tempting illusion of a ready market. But gambling is the one single absolute exception to all the kingdom's other welcoming modern business policies. Trying to leverage those strengths means you are intentionally choosing to violate foundational Sharia law. And the government has shown again and again it will absolutely prosecute that. No question.
Right. So legal entry is completely off the table. But we know people often find ways around things. We have to talk about the underground market. The report mentions anecdotal evidence suggesting thousands of Bahraini residents, not just visitors, are actually accessing offshore sites.
Yeah.
How are they getting around the blocks? Is that ISP blocking actually working?
Well, it works to stop legal operations from setting up, obviously. But for determined individuals, no, it's not stopping everyone. Players who really want to play, they mainly get around the ISP blocks using VPNs, virtual private networks, tech to mask their location. The legal risk is definitely high, but for some, especially maybe younger people who are comfortable with the tech, the desire to play, combined with how easy it is to access things on mobile, it seems to override the fear.
Okay, so they're using VPNs. What are they actually playing? Are there clear preferences even in this underground scene?
Oh, absolutely. Sports betting is the big one, especially on major international stuff. Think global football, like the English Premier League. Cricket's popular too, and there's a huge interest in Formula One.
Because Bahrain hosts a Grand Prix.
Exactly. That drives massive local interest every year. After sports, you see online casino games, particularly slots and live dealer tables. Those are pretty popular too.
Which leads to the obvious question. Money. If the regular banks are banned from touching gambling money, how are these thousands of players actually making deposits and getting paid? How do they keep it anonymous?
Yeah, this is crucial, and it ties right back into why regulation is impossible. Players lean heavily on methods that offer the most anonymity. Top choices are cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, USDT, things that are easy to move internationally, and also international e-wallets like Skrill or Neteller. The official Bahraini banks and financial institutions are strictly forbidden from handling any gambling-related money, so it forces all these transactions into these harder-to-trace offshore channels.
It's genuinely frustrating when you look at the potential just being lost. The sources estimate, hypothetically, if Bahrain ever did legalize, the market with its wealth and tech could be huge. We're talking maybe $80 million to $150 million a year in gross gaming revenue.
And let's be clear what GGR means for listeners. That's the gross gaming revenue, basically. All the money players bet, minus the winnings paid back out. It's the core revenue the operator makes before their own costs. And critically, it's the number the government would tax if it were legal.
Right.
So that $80 to $150 million, right now, it's all just flowing out of the country to international operators, completely untaxed by Bahrain.
So we've got the money there, the players are clearly there, despite the risks, the tech is there. It all comes down to the big question. Is there any chance this changes? Will the government eventually look at that lost revenue? Or maybe decide the ban is just too hard to enforce perfectly and maybe reconsider?
The report is incredibly direct on this and pretty pessimistic if you're hoping for change. The probability of full gambling legalization is rated at essentially 0%. Zero.
0%, not even like a tiny chance.
Zero. Because, again, this ban isn't really about money or politics in the usual sense. It's fundamentally religious. It's Sharia law. To legalize gambling would mean a massive shift in the country's entire legal and cultural identity. And that's seen as politically impossible under the current system. In fact, when the analysts look ahead, say 5 or 10 years, the most likely outcome, they give it a 69% probability, is that the current situation, absolute prohibition, just continues exactly as it is. If anything, the government seems to be looking at a strengthening enforcement, maybe even harsher penalties. They're doubling down on the ban, not softening.
Wow. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up, synthesize this whole fascinating but also kind of scary picture for everyone listening.
Right.
It really is this strange double reality.
It absolutely is. And the takeaway for any potential operator is simple, stark even. The risk versus reward. It's 100% risk of prosecution for 0% chance of legal revenue. Bahrain isn't just a difficult market needing clever strategy. It's a market where the activity itself is criminalized at a fundamental religious level. Operating there isn't business, it's treated as a crime.
And that contrast, that's maybe the most thought-provoking thing to leave people with. You know, considering Bahrain is positioning itself as this modern Gulf financial hub, they even recently licensed a major crypto exchange, right? Like Binance's subsidiary, BPay Global, got licensed in 2025. So does the fact that they still maintain this absolute unshakable ban on gambling, even when players are using those very same licensed crypto channels, does that show us the ultimate limit? The point where even cutting-edge fintech innovation just hits a brick wall against deeply entrenched religious law. Something definitely for you to think about as the digital world keeps bumping up against these ancient structures. For the full text of this report on Bahrain and many other country analyses from the Gambling Databases research team, do visit their website at gamblingdatabases.com.